Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Time for the view from the opposition. And this week it comes from Mat Kendrick, part of the team at the Claret and Blue Podcast, the Aston Villa Show down in Birmingham, one of our sister sites. Matt, welcome back to the show. How are you keeping? Are you well?
I'm all right. Yeah. I'm buzzing on the back of our win on the weekend, but as I'm sure we'll touch on in a bit, it always scares the hell out of me going to St James's because it's not exactly been the happiest of hunting grounds.
Well, that's what I like to hear, that you're a bit fearful of the trip up to St James's Park on Boxing Day. This show is coming to you on Christmas Day, so I hope you've had a wonderful morning so far and are about to tuck into a lovely cooked Christmas meal. Matt, we're going to wish them Merry Christmas. It feels a bit weird doing this because we're recording it a few days prior, but I guess we should wish them Merry Christmas, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think before the hostilities start, I think we need to be civil to each other, don't we? So yeah, glad tidings to you and yours.
Thank you very much, and to you as well. Yes, Aston Villa on Box. I'm really excited about this one. I think two teams in great form, two teams coming in on the back of two great results. Newcastle beating Ipswich and Aston Villa beating Man City. It's got all the makings of a really exciting game. But you mentioned there you're a little bit fearful of travelling up to St James's. So what scares you the most?
I think it's history, first of all, because I think I was doing a little bit of homework, and obviously the one that comes back is the last time that we won up there was the Lee Bowyer, Kieran Dyer scrap. Well, I think Newcastle ended that game with 8 men, so that probably gave us a slight advantage, although I think we're well on our way to winning it anyway. And I've looked back, the previous victory before then, Shearer got sent off, so we only beat 10 men. Got to go back to April 1989, I think it was, the last time that Villa beat an 11 of Newcastle. David Platt and Stuart Gray. And for context, your viewers can obviously see kind of I'm an old man. I was at primary school the last time that Villa won up there when it was kind of 11 versus 11. So it's a pretty long time ago.
If I think back to that game where Shearer got sent off, I'm pretty sure if VAR existed back then, it would have been rescinded on the pitch because if I'm not mistaken, he went for a header and was it against Ian Taylor? And Ian Taylor couldn't quite believe he'd been sent off. I'm pretty sure that's the one you're talking about. So it was a bit of a questionable red card, shall we say. But yes, the one after that you mentioned, the Boyer and Kieran Dyer and Stephen Taylor getting sent off. No question that all three deserve to see red. So hopefully we don't see any of that colour, at least from a Newcastle point of view, on Boxing Day. But yeah, Newcastle have a great record, as you say. It's in James's Park. I mean, last season beating Aston Villa 5-1, Sandro Tonali starring before he got his ban, and other great wins. Newcastle coming up from the Championship and winning 6-2. I think Andy Carroll got a hat-trick that day. So yeah, even though Villa are in great form, just beating Manchester City, I think quietly confident would be the words that I'm using for this one because it's just Villa at St James's Park. And I know history and records are there to be broken, but I think Newcastle will fancy themselves on Boxing Day.
Yeah, I think it's because the way that the stadium's set up, I think it's hard for away teams anyway to actually feel like you're part of the proceedings. You're that you're stuck that far away from the action, surrounded by kind of 50,000 Geordies, that it's hard to influence your own team, isn't it? So you're hoping that your team's got that about them anyway. And the one thing that does alarm me, and listen, I'm not going to be too defeatist about it because Aston Villa are a very good football team. The one thing that does alarm me as well is when we went to Forest a couple of weeks ago, you could just feel the apprehension kind of because as their fan base really cranked up the atmosphere, you could see Villa kind of crumbling a little bit, and just think that Villa really need to stand tall. And at a time where Newcastle seem to be scoring goals for fun, and Aston Villa very rarely manage to keep a clean sheet, I just think it's going to be a really big challenge. And what I'm desperate for from a Villa fan's point of view is for us to play our way back into some kind of consistent form, because I actually think, it's probably Liverpool's league already, isn't it? But I think between second and eighth, I think all of those positions are up for grabs. And I think whoever emerges from the pack with a strong start to the new year or a strong kind of Christmas period puts himself in a really good, gives themselves a lot of potential to try and nail that fourth or fifth spot, I think, this year.
Yeah, well, you sound like a Newcastle United fan as well, because that's all we've been asking for is that consistency. Because they've won games here or there, then gone on bad runs, but they finally seemingly have found a little bit of form, beating Ipswich, beating Leicester, getting through to the semi-finals of the League Cup as well. I think we do have to caveat that by saying, Leicester and Ipswich were really, really pitiful. And Villa's going to be a big test. And I kind of want this big test because we've seen Newcastle United beat the teams you expect them to beat. And they had to beat them as well because Eddie Howe was under a little bit of pressure from certain sections of the fan base. But the real challenge comes now against Villa, who I think are a position or two positions above them maybe, but not too many points ahead of them. Man United on the 30th and Spurs as well ahead into the new year. So this is where the real challenge comes for Newcastle. And I guess it's similar for Villa. You look around, you see we've picked up 10 points, I think it is, from the last 18. But can they maintain that going into 2025?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mad Premier League, isn't it, this year? The fact that that pack is still quite congested. So as Villa, I mean, I hope that Villa fans and Newcastle fans, I hope that we're still too soon into this journey to get a sense of entitlement. You know what it's like. As soon as you kind of crack that top four, you think, oh, okay, our expectations are here and this is where we belong. And so as silly as it sounds, we've had a brilliant run in the Champions League so far. We're still in and amongst it, towards the top end of the Premier League, but we probably feel a little bit disappointed that we've underachieved. So, I mean, that's mad, really, given the journey that both clubs have been on in the last 6 or 7 years. But we do. So, I think that it's that. I think one of the things I've touched upon it already, but how brittle Villa have been defensively. And even on Saturday, where we dominated most of the game against Man City, albeit Man City, who looked like they're a faded force this season, but we still managed to concede a goal. And I do think that defence can be got at. Although on Saturday, the way that we set up the midfield was really interesting because we got Onana and Kamara who were able to anchor, which gave Yuri Tielemans a little bit more license to operate further forward. And it probably wasn't until I started watching Tielemans every week that I realised what a good player he is. So I think as much as I am a little bit worried about our vulnerability in defence, we've also got a team. Morgan Rogers has been absolutely wonderful. John Duran has just gone from, giving it the big hammer sign and looking like he was going to join West Ham in the summer to just, coming back with a vengeance, really. So we've got two really good centre-forward options. So what I'm saying in a long-winded way, I don't think it'll be 0-0.
No, I don't either. I think it'll be quite a close game, but I think there'll be goals in it. I think the midfield is the key here. They set up a little bit similar. The only thing that's a little bit different is that Newcastle tend to sit with one man as the anchor and the other two either side of them will then go forward. We've seen Bruno really come into his own over the last few weeks because Tonali's sitting as the number 6, and that's allowing Bruno that little bit more freedom, whereas Villa tend to sit with 2 in the anchor and 1 man going forward. So, that's where the creativity is, and that is where I think the key is for either side to win the game. I'm really excited to see this midfield battle.
Yeah, it's sometimes it just clicks, and obviously we've had. If you look at last season, we lost Tyrone Mings to an ACL, which I think he did up at your place start of last season. Emi Buendia as well. And the one I want to mention is Boubacar Kamara, because again, he's another one of those ones who we knew we got a good player, but it wasn't until he'd come back and it started being, I don't know, he's just, I think it'd be interesting for you to watch him on, I've lost track of the days. Thursday, is it this week?
It is, yeah.
Normal days don't apply to that during Christmas week. But on Thursday, on Boxing Day, be interested for you to see him, because I think he's obviously a kind of very defensive screen in front of the back four, but some of the football, just really, really intricate, tight footwork and stuff like that. So I think him coming back has been a real bonus. We obviously lost Douglas Luiz in the summer. A little bit of FFP, PSR manoeuvring, and Douglas Luiz being one of our most consistent players for around 5 years. But I think Kamara coming back in and then giving Tielemans that little bit of license to go a little bit further forward. It just seems like the perfect blend at the moment. But I'm probably judging that on the basis of one victory on Saturday. So let's see if that lasts into Thursday.
Well, it's that old word again, isn't it? Consistency. It's just what both sides have really been lacking this season, and it is all about consistency. I think if either side can find it, post this game, then you're right. Top four is definitely achievable for both of them. You've mentioned a couple of players down the midfield. I think Tonali's been key for Newcastle United, sitting deep in that number 6, and him really finding his feet in the Premier League now. He just looks a world-class player. And as we said, Villa have got some top quality players. I mean, Onana's another one who stands out for me. I guess the question many of our listeners will be asking, Matt, is who starts up front? Duran started against City. Will it be him again, or will Watkins come back in?
I think it will be Duran. Again, his strike rate is phenomenal, really, whether he's off the bench or whether he's starting games. It's been really interesting because obviously he had that little bit of a hissy fit in the summer when I think he probably, I don't know whether it was people advising him or not advising him. I think he started to believe his own hype a little bit, and I think it's a credit to the management of Unai Emery and the coaching team around him that they've been able to calm him down, put him in his place, but put him in his place in a way that he's actually invested in the project rather than thinking it's kind of me. And actually, one of the big things about Emery is trust. So he's had to earn the trust of Emery that, yes, he can still be that maverick, can still create chaos. I mean, he's very difficult to play against because he's unpredictable. But he can also be trusted in the system now. He can do the graft. He can close down defenders. We had a chance within about 30 seconds on Saturday against Manchester City. He probably should have scored it, to be honest. Probably could have advanced another 10 yards. But that's somebody who's on the front foot from the first minute. So I think that's probably been one of the surprise success stories. I think if West Ham would have given us 40 million quid or whatever it was in the summer, we'd have kind of waved him on his way and he'd have been gone. But I'm glad that I'm not sure that last season we really knew what we got. I think now when we're getting that consistency from him and we're getting more maturity from him, you probably want West Ham to double that now, and then we'd still say no.
Yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic to watch, but hopefully he has a bad day on Thursday. Just a reminder, guys, that this episode is sponsored by NordVPN, and it is the perfect time to sign up and keep yourself protected, assuming that quite a few have maybe got new devices over Christmas. And if you want to be protected from the scammers and hackers out there, especially when you're out in the public using public Wi-Fi, then you hit the link in the podcast description box to get a discounted offer on your NordVPN plan, and at the same time help support the podcast as well. Is there anyone, Matt, from a Newcastle point of view that you're particularly fearing on Thursday?
I suppose it's the obvious ones, isn't it? I suppose it's Isak and Gordon, really. Just seeing what was I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to remember which goal was against which team, but I've just seen some brilliant moments of forward attacking play, and I think I've said we have come on before and spoken about Isak. I actually think not only is a brilliant centre forward, I think technically he's a brilliantly gifted. You don't always see that, do you? Somebody who could play a 9 and a 10, a bit like the Harry Kane kind of thing. They've got the gift of being able to kind of master the ball like that, but they can score goals and as well. So I think him. I don't want to think about it too much, Andrew, because I just know that we can be got at. And I just thought, at the moment we've got, we play the Emery way. So I know most teams try and do this kind of really slow, methodical build up from the back now, but Emery is an absolute kind of slave to it. That's the way we play. Very, very occasionally we'll go long, but so because of that, we've got Pau Torres and Ezri Konsa, who are probably two of the best footballing centre halves in the league, but you do worry sometimes, at least particularly against Forest the other week, you probably needed a Tyrone Mings in there to try and stand up strong. So I do think that I think I'm right in saying that Newcastle can do a bit of both, can't they? I think they can give it a little bit as well, can't they? I mean, what are they like? What you like from set pieces at the moment?
They've improved in the last week or so. This season they've been lacking a bit of threat, but against Leicester scored 3 from a set piece routine, which was brilliant against Brentford as well. So something's been happening on the training pitch. It's not necessarily just put the ball in the box and get your biggest man on the end of it. It's a bit more clever than that. But in recent weeks, the teams have fallen for it, and Newcastle have benefited.
What was the one I saw the other day when it was a ball from the right and it was like a cut back to the edge? Was it Gordon cut it back and was it?
Yeah, Gordon cut it back to Murphy against Leicester,
Yeah.
and he scored it. It was wonderfully worked, really, really nice. And that's something that we're really good at a couple of seasons back, but last season it just wasn't there. But it's great to see it back.
Do you have a set? Because we've got Austin McPhee, who's our set piece coach. So you can always see him as soon as he's a free kick or a corner. You wouldn't see him all game, and then he's just out there with his little clipboard. And
No, from my understanding, Jason Tyndall is the man responsible for set pieces. So yeah, I think benefiting from a set piece coach like you've got, that's his sole job, would definitely be something they could look into next season. But as of now, I think it is just Jason Tyndall working his magic. So
yes, I think that's going to be so important. Like I said, I can't think. I mean, remarkably, this is how mad it is. We've probably only kept about 3 or 4 clean sheets all season. One's come against Bayern Munich and one's come against Juventus. So we've been a lot better defensively in Europe than we have in the Premier League, to be honest.
how will they approach the game on Saturday? Is it a case that they'll want more of the ball, Villa, or will they try and counter?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose playing Man City on Saturday, we had to relinquish a bit of the ball. I think probably had about 45% possession in the end. I think Villa will probably be happy to let Newcastle have it in certain areas and spring on the break. You know, I mentioned earlier Morgan Rogers, who I don't know whether you've had much chance to see him. You know, this time last year, he was only just about getting a look in at Middlesbrough in the Championship, and now he's made his full England debut, and he's become an automatic starter for Villa. And when he gets going, if you give him any space on the half turn, he'll just leave you for dead. And I think Jamie Redknapp described him as being a bit like Jonah Lomu. I think the way he can just kind of bulldoze his way past people. So I think Villa, knowing that they've got that in their armoury with Morgan Rogers and John Duran, who's pretty rapid himself, I think and knowing that Newcastle were in good form and knowing that our record there is not brilliant, I think Emery will be fairly, not conservative because he sets up to win games, but I don't think we're going to, you know, like at the weekend, we were very much Man City, you're on our territory, you know, you're not the Man City that you once were. We're going to take this game to you. I think it'll just be a little bit more patient up at St James's.
Well, it's interesting because Ipswich and Leicester showed their naivety by not sitting back and inviting Newcastle on. Because if you sit back, Newcastle struggle to break down teams who've got that low block. So against better teams, your Arsenals and your Liverpools, that's where they come into their own because they have a lot of the ball and Newcastle hit them on the counter. So it's going to be really interesting to see what works on Thursday, because if Villa do have a low block, that could be the best thing for them. But if they do come out and try and attack Newcastle and have predominantly the most possession, that's when Newcastle are at their best. So I'm assuming Emery's going to have done his homework.
Yeah, I think I think Villa would be more than satisfied with the archetypal kind of stubborn away performance, and then try and grab something in the last 20 minutes. That's if we're still in the game in the last in the last 20 minutes, to be honest. But what's the deal with the goalkeeper situation at the moment? Is Pope injured, or is Dubravka coming on form, or?
Yeah, Nick Pope's picked up a knee injury, so he's had a few injections over the last couple of days, but I don't think he'll be playing on Boxing Day. Newcastle probably won't use him until the new year, maybe. But Dubravka's been all right. He's not had much to do in the last 2 or 3 games because the teams have been pretty dreadful. So it'll be a big test for him on Thursday against a side who are in form, feeling confident, and have got threats from all over the pitch. But I think he'll be relishing that kind of challenge.
Yeah, and like I said, on Villa from an attacking point of view, set piece wise, obviously having a Nana in there makes a massive difference. You know, he's a giant of a man. So I think I don't know whether you're gonna ask me for a prediction at any stage, but I'd take I don't back Villa to get a clean sheet, but I'd take a 1-1. I really would. I think that'd just keep us ticking nicely. I think we've got Brighton at home on Monday, a week, so on the 30th. So yeah, we could just do with avoiding a hammering, really.
See, your attitude to this game is making me feel nervous because you're feeling quite fearful and nervous about the prospect of facing Newcastle, which makes me feel confident. But every time I'm overconfident, Newcastle United seem to slip up. So
It's reverse
I don't know,
psychology, Andrew. It's
don't know how
just
to think
the
about it.
Brummy mentality. Always expect the worst, and then you can only be pleasantly surprised if it goes better than that, can't you?
There you go. I think Newcastle United will win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Newcastle United, and that'll set them up nicely heading into the new year. Face Manchester United as well. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a really exciting game. I'm looking forward to it. I think the neutral will definitely be looking forward to it. It's a shame though it's not on not on TV with it being a 3 p.m. kickoff.
Is it not on Amazon or something?
I don't think so. I mean, I might be, but I'm pretty certain I was told it was not. But now you've said that proves I should have done my full research because I forgot Amazon even have Premier League games. So you might be right, Matt. You may be right, but it's going to be entertaining nonetheless, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I've been on this show previously, Andrew, I'm like really. I like the fact that Newcastle and Villa have dared to challenge the elite, and hopefully hanging around. Not gonna be one season wonders. I think if we can get to a place where each club is in Europe, for the next 4 or 5 years, and listen, that's not necessarily going to be Champions League all the time. That might be Europa League one year and Champions League the next year, but it's good to see, and we're obviously biased, but we're talking about two massive football clubs that have been starved of kind of silverware and success for so long. I'm a little bit envious that you've made it into the semi-finals of the League Cup, to be honest, because that's a frustrating one from a Villa point of view, and there's not many blots on Unai Emery's copybook at Aston Villa, but that's probably one of them, that we want something tangible. And although that famous win over Bayern Munich at Villa Park will live with us forever, I still want something shiny that we can parade around the ball ring.
Again, if we changed the accent to a Geordie one, Matt, you'd be speaking like a Newcastle United fan because we had that wonderful win over PSG, but what we want is a real bit of silverware. So yes, fingers crossed it comes this season in the shape of the League Cup. And you are correct. It is on Amazon. Should have done my research, but I'm sure there'll be an affiliate link that you can click on to subscribe to Amazon Prime. Like that, Matt, right? That was good, that? Good little
I like the NordVPN. And I like the affiliate links. You're very much on brand here, Andrew. I'm appreciating this.
I know what I'm doing. But yes, there we go. Matt, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast. I hope you do have a wonderful Christmas. And to you guys watching and listening, thank you as always. You know what I do. Hit the link for your NordVPN subscription in the podcast description box. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe on the channel. Leave us a rating and review on the audio channel. Enjoy the rest of the festivities. And from a Newcastle United point of view, at least, keeping everything crossed for 3 points over Aston Villa on Boxing Day.